town. Red Cup summers and Vine Street lights. Button up every Monday, and we tie it on Friday night. So here's to the weekend, family's first and our best friends. Crimson and white, those Ferris wheel lights. This year, let's do it again. So raise your glass and raise it strong, for those who are here and those who are gone. Wherever they are, let's hope they're raising hell. So let's raise a glass, these are our best days. Raise a glass, here's to being Paso Bay. This place we call our home, softball games and wine and beer homegrown. And Friday night we're gonna do it all over again. So here's to the weekend, family's first and our best friends. It's four-wheel drives and suntan lines, baby, you look good again. So raise your glass and raise it strong, for those who are here and those who are gone. Wherever they are, let's hope they're raising hell. So let's raise a glass, these are our best days. Raise a glass, here's to being Paso Bay. So let's raise a glass, these are our best days. Raise a glass, here's to being Paso Bay. Good morning. Let's raise a cup of coffee. Cheers. Here's to Wednesday. It's hump day. It's the Morning Buzz. Today is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. Okay, my theme for the day is the theme I'm having today, and the original idea I had for the Morning Buzz was it would offer everybody a chance to just reset and restart every single day fresh with a positive mindset, with the thought of yesterday being gone, with the thought of new beginnings, everything in front of us. The future is what we make it. And so today, this morning, I'd like to raise a glass to you guys. That's actually a cup of coffee. Cheers, Lori. Today is a new day. Today is a fresh day. What happened yesterday is gone. And so all we can do now is focus on what's in front of us. And so I'm choosing to do that this morning. Today is a new day. And so it's what I make it. So cheers to you guys. It's Wednesday. Wow. It just goes so fast. All right, so I put the link to the chat or in the chat here. I put a link. Mr. Lewis shared it with me. I've seen it on Facebook. I just dropped the GoFundMe link for Detective Luca Benedetti's Family Relief Fund. Kind of been looking at it over the last 12 hours or so, and as of last night, it was when I looked at it around 9 o'clock, they raised, I don't know, $79,000. As of this morning, it's $118,000. So, yeah, it looks like, and just scrolling through the donations, what's really cool to see about this is
if you're scrolling through all these donations, we're not talking like thousands of dollars being donated by families. We're talking like $10 donations by just anyone. Um, that's the power of our community. That's the power of um, for the lack of a better term or cliche, uh, that's the power of love. To be honest with you, that's an amazing thing, and obviously there is zero amount of money that will ever undo the tragedy that took place, and that will ever fix fully the family's life, with what they've gone through, or bring him back. But um, that's just in times of tragedy like this, we don't really know what to do, right? We don't know what to do to help others, and so ultimately what we end up doing is giving things, right? We give money, we give food, we give flowers, we give our time, we give our words, our thoughts, our prayers. This GoFundMe is just kind of a representation of the giving that's happening. And I'm watching it real time, and it's crazy to watch. Um, yeah, it's just happening every few seconds. Somebody's giving some money. So, again, the GoFundMe link for Detective Luca Benedetti's Family Relief Fund is in the chat, and so that is something. And for us, it's easy for us to start every day new and fresh, and say that we're going to wipe the slate clean and forget about yesterday. And for them, that family, that's not something that's possible to do at this time, unfortunately. And that's a pain that um, you know nobody should have to experience or go through or feel. And that family is having to do it in a big way right now. So, and not only the family, but the friends and the coworkers and the community, everybody's feeling it. So, yeah, pretty tragic event. So, all right, Tony, cheers to you. I appreciate you sending me that. Hope you have a good day, brother. It's Wednesday. Yeah. What do we have on the show today? We have Amanda Moore is coming in to check on me, and I'm going to check on her. Keep each other accountable. Today for me is day 44 of the 75-day challenge. Day 44. Hold on. There it is. Day 44. Okay. Um, I'm feeling good. I ran 6 miles yesterday, and then I hiked 2 miles in the afternoon. My body's actually feeling really good and rested. I did yoga over the weekend, and I did some just upper body exercises, and I did some light hiking on Sunday. So I was able to rest my knees a little. Yesterday I felt great, or Monday, same thing. Yesterday, um, felt really good. So I went out and ran 6 miles and then did that 2 mile hike, and I feel good. I feel really good this morning. I'm feeling light. I had a good salad for dinner last night. That was good. Um, and so, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good this morning. So Amanda's coming in at 7:20 to check on us and see about how she's doing on her challenge. I finished my book yesterday, and so the book that I finished, this is the second book that I finished for the challenge. And part of the challenge is you have to read 10 pages a day of some type of book that is like a self-improvement motivational book. And so the first book I read was a book on the history of Nashville songwriters, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. And that to me is an inspirational book because it shows me kind of the path that those songwriters went on to just experience defeat, experience rejection, experience all kinds of things, but continue to kind of push through and stay true to themselves as artists and performers, and ultimately become triumphant. And so that was a good book. It was a book called Outlaws, about the Nashville songwriters. Second book that I started and finished was this book. It's called Unfuck Yourself. Get out of your head and into your life. This was a book that was a gift to me from my wife, Allison. She gave it to me. I believe she gave it to me on Christmas. So she gave me this book, and I had started it a few months back, put it down, got it back out, and restarted it on this challenge. I don't know, 15 days ago or so, maybe 20 days ago. And so I just finished it yesterday. Um, my overall take on this book is, it took a while. Like, you get pretty deep into the book to start getting some meat out of it. But there's some real gems as you get to the end. And I'm looking. I'm sorry. I know where I have it. When you get to the end of the book, there's some real gems. I think some of it's super relevant, and I'll just read you a couple passages on page 180. Let me see here. Now I'm reading you books like I'm Mr. Rogers or something. Okay, so the title of this chapter is "I Expect Nothing and Accept Everything." Okay, so we often expect other people to treat us exactly as we treat them. If we do them a favor, we expect to get the same favor back in return. It becomes an unspoken debt of sorts. When we give our partner a foot massage, we expect them to reciprocate either directly or indirectly. Those expectations grow in both weight and complexity in an intimate or romantic relationship. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, the second part is, you won't believe how much your interactions with other people will improve the moment you let go of expecting, the instant you learn to accept things as they happen. All right, so you won't believe how much the interactions with other people will improve the moment you basically let go or stop expecting things from them. And so I found that to be a little nugget of wisdom, obviously. But, overall, the book's, it's worth a read. It's a quick read. It's easy. 192 pages, I think. It went, 207 pages. It went really quickly. So I have this book. If anybody wants me to drop it off so you don't have to buy it, shoot me a text, email, text, message, whatever you want to do, DM. I'm happy to let somebody borrow this book. It's called Unfuck Yourself. So there you go. Thanks, Allison, for the gift. And I would, it's definitely worth a read. All right, so now I'm finding myself in the spot where I need to choose my book that I need to start today. And I went through our storage yesterday and found a box of books. I found a box of books yesterday, and I'll go through this list of books here in a little bit. I pulled, 6 or 8 of them out, so we'll go through them. But at this time, 7:14 a.m. every morning, as we do, we invite Mr. Anthony Reed in from Pastor Robles Incidents and Actions. Mr. Anthony Reed gives us the latest and greatest news and headlines and incidents that's being reported here in the North County. And so here he is. He looks frozen.
I'm here.
I can't hear him.
You can't hear me?
No, I'm just messing with you.
Oh.
I was just, for once, I could hear you. Yeah. How's it going?
It's going good this morning. It's going good.
Good. Did you get a good night's rest?
I did.
Good. I'm going to speak about rest here in a little bit, but I've listened to 2 podcasts in the last 3 days about the importance of sleep, and so there's some interesting interesting research and information out there about the importance of sleep. So we'll dive into that here in a little bit. But so
Awesome.
you're well rested. You're
Yeah.
you're ready to go today. What's going on out in the world? Anything?
Not much. This morning, everything is real quiet so far. Nothing really going on that needs to be reported. There was. Let's just dive right into it here. There was a I don't know if you want to call it a procession or a memorial. I would say drive by the local police departments that came together yesterday evening in San Luis in solidarity for the fallen officer from Monday evening. And so that procession, I meant to get the link to it, but I can have it on here by the next time I come on. But just seeing all the first responders just respond in solidarity to him was just remarkable. It kind of had me tearing up in the video just to see the support. And it's just amazing on what one person can have such an impact on his colleagues and coworkers and other first responders. And so it's just amazing. So I wanted to point out a point of fact this morning. In the last 14 hours, there is a GoFundMe that has collected more than $118,000.
You must not have listened to the whole first part of the show this morning because
I didn't.
Oh man, I spent like an hour on it.
And
Yeah,
hour and only 15 minutes.
Eric Lewis shared the link with me. I looked at this thing last night. It was at $79,000. As of this morning, it's at 118,000. They've raised the goal to 250.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it real time, and it's just like I just refreshed it right there, and now it's at 119. Like it just keeps climbing. And again, we're not talking hundreds of dollars being donated by individuals. We're talking like $10, $4, like super small increments. Like it's just it's awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a sign. It's a testament to our community that when tragedy happens, we all rally around each other to try to figure out what we can do to help. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
So, well, cool. Yeah. And I shared this link on the chat, so it's sitting there if anybody wants to click on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just a testament to the first responders, like I said, in showing solidarity to a fallen officer. And obviously, I don't know if you know it or not, but I did some research yesterday after the show. The last officer involved shooting that happened here locally was, or I mean, obviously this last year, but like in terms of like the gunfire and all that sort of thing, the last one that happened, I believe I read it was somewhere in the 1950s.
Wow.
And so that just shows you how rare that this type of thing happens. And obviously when it does happen, it shows you the impact from the community and how the community is affected, obviously, by this because of the rarity of it happening. And so it just shows you the camaraderie and how the community can come together and kind of rally around the police departments and
I actually have footage of that shooting in the 1950s. That officer involved shooting. Yeah, I'll play it right now.
Oh, you're Mike. It took me a second. Andy Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No. You know what? That was a time when TV was just so innocent and just
Right.
that was so much fun. I could sit there and watch Andy Griffith show for hours, reruns with my grandpa, and we would just laugh hysterically.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Barney Fife pistol discharge compilation on
Yeah.
YouTube
Yeah. I've seen it before.
where he
Yeah.
shoots his foot. So, hey, if you want a good laugh, some good clean fun, here we go. I'll drop it in the chat. But Barney Fife, there you go. The Andy Griffith Show. Great
Yeah, he wasn't
childhood
the
memories.
yeah, he wasn't the as they say, the sharpest tool in the tool shed. So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All
But no,
right.
on a serious note though, it was just awesome to see the camaraderie and in the last 14 hours, the support on the GoFundMe is just absolutely tremendous. And I heard
Yeah.
from Police Chief Ty Lewis. I told you I spoke to him yesterday, and I just asked him. I said, how's the police department responding? And
Mhm.
he said the same thing that he said on the news at 5. Is just that he has called in everybody in his department to start putting in overtime shifts and start putting
Yeah.
together overtime shift in San Luis, and to just basically just offer up our whole department basically.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I thought that was awesome by a police chief, Ty Lewis. And so
Cool.
yeah, so
Well, good
that's all I
deal.
have for you for this hour. So
Okay.
that's all I can say.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump in with Amanda, and we'll get our weekly 75 hard check-in, and we'll see you back here around 7:55.
Awesome. See ya.
See ya. All right, Anthony Reed, Paso Robles incidents and actions, and now it's time for Miss Amanda Moore. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. It's I'm a little tired this morning. I didn't get a lot of sleep, which is ironic because I've been listening to podcasts about the importance of sleep and all of these sleep studies that are being done.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, are you do you track your sleep? Are you doing any of that like next level stuff?
I did for a while, but I don't love sleeping with the watch on, but I'm pretty regular. I'm usually asleep by 10 on school on the weekday
Yeah.
till 6.
So
Between
what's that? 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8.
6,
Yeah.
8 hours.
I think I'm actually asleep somewhere in the 7 range, but I don't do well with less than 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've typically, I mean, as long as I can remember, 5 to 7 hours, like mostly, usually around 6 hours. And the podcasts that I've been listening to lately have been saying, hey, by the way, so shorter sleep equals shorter life.
Right.
Like that's really kind of what it boils down to, which is a little alarming to hear. But yeah, they're saying somewhere between the 7 and 9 hour range is optimal. But then I also heard, so I've listened to 2 podcasts here in the last 3 days, and I'll pull them up and share them on the screen. So let's see here. So the last podcast, well, the first one I listened to on sleep is the Rich Roll podcast, which I've talked about Rich Roll's podcast before. I absolutely love him. And he's just a gosh, I heard somebody describe his podcast. It's like he's refreshingly what's the word? He's like a oh gosh, now I'm gonna be so mad at myself.
It'll come to you.
It's almost like humble, but he's a his gift of being like a humble storyteller is just phenomenal. That's not it. All right, so the sleep podcast that I listened to with him, Matthew Walker's a PhD. He's devoted his entire study to the importance of sleep. So why do we sleep? What happens when we sleep? Why is it so important? What's the implications of sleep deprivation? Sleep hygiene. Okay, so this is a 3-hour podcast. I listened to it over 3 different workouts in the last. Well, I finished it yesterday morning, but I started it the previous day, Monday, and he is a scientist, basically a researcher that talks about sleep and studies sleep. The other one that I heard yesterday was not a scientist, it was a doctor. And so the doctor, his job is to help people with sleep. TB12, and this is Tom Brady's TB12 podcast. Let me see here. Keep going podcast. Is this it? I'll find a link to this one, but this doctor I thought was pretty. It was a completely different take on it. It's more of like, hey, here's what's practical kind of deal. Not like here's what I've studied, but here's what I've learned. Chris Winter, here it is. Chris Winter is a doctor. Share screen. So understanding sleep and improving sleep habits. Okay. And so he works with professional athletes and helps them. I'm going to drop these links in the chat, but he helps them kind of improve their sleep. And he brought up an interesting thing, right? If you're a professional athlete and you are, or a professional musician, right? And you go down, let's say you have a game in New York City, and you live on the West Coast, but you have a game in New York City. And so you're already 3 hours ahead of where. So sleep podcast. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to multitask. Okay. That's the first sleep podcast that I'm looking at right there. It's in the chat. So you're an athlete. You're based on the West Coast. You have a game in New York City. So you're already 3 hours ahead, right? Your game ends at 10 at night, which 10 at night. Well, gosh, I mean, let's call it. I'm sorry, reverse it.
Right.
You're based on the East Coast. You work on the West Coast. Your game ends at 10 at night on the West Coast, which is really 1 a.m. in your sleep clock, right? And the game comes down to a last second shot. You're the one that shoots it, and you make it, and you win the game. And for the next hour, your friends, your family, everybody's texting you. You're on a high, like all of a sudden it's 2:00 in the morning, and you're still just on this crazy buzz from the endorphins kicking in. But then all of a sudden you've got to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the next city. Like, so he works with athletes to. Mr. Mac just sent me a text. I'm sorry. So, so he works with athletes to try to figure out how they can kind of decompress after an exciting thing,
Right.
like immediately, and then bring their body back down and
Right.
then just go to sleep, right? And so that's his, and he's more of a practitioner, where the other guy is a studier, right? And so it's interesting. Chris Winter, the doctor, says that he believes your sleep clock is more of a hereditary thing. Like, some people are just kind of in their genes, they need 5 to 7 hours versus 7 to 9 hours. The other guy, the doctor, or the PhD study guy, is like, no, there's very specific information out there that says the less sleep you have, the shorter your life is, right? And so
I think that's true. Just between my kids, like, one of them has always needed so much sleep, even as a baby, and to this day, if she doesn't get enough sleep, watch out. I won't tell you, but yeah,
Oh, really?
kids just need. I mean, some people Need a
Yeah.
lot.
And then the other thing is caffeine. Are you a caffeine drinker?
I have 1 cup a day.
Okay. So do I, but my cup is huge, right? It's so yeah, the other thing is different people break down caffeine differently, right? So that maybe sometimes it doesn't affect other people. They metabolize it faster, and so it doesn't last as long in their system.
Right.
So and that's a genetic thing.
Right. I can't have caffeine after 1 o'clock, or I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
Well, they say if you have a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then by the time you go to bed at 9 o'clock, you still have like a quarter of a cup of coffee in your
Wow.
system.
Crazy.
Yeah, super crazy. So, and it's fascinating. It talked about the effects of alcohol on your sleep patterns, and people think, well, if I drink, I go to sleep, and it puts me to sleep better. Alcohol is what they call a sedative, right? And so it negatively impacts your sleep. It puts you in like it puts you in a fake state of sleep, kind of, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you're interested in deepening and understanding sleep and listening to a couple different schools of thoughts on importance of sleep, all these links are both in the chat.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, what would we do without podcasts,
Right.
right before podcasts? I think I just put the same link twice. Hold on, let me do this one again. There it is. Okay, so now we have the two chats. One of them is the TB12 chat, and the other, or the podcast. The other one is the Rich Roll podcast. Okay, you're day 49, right?
I think I'm on 50. I didn't look this morning. What am I? 5 days ahead of you. You tell me.
I think I'm 44. So you might be day 40. You don't have the app.
I do, but I'm using my phone to talk to you. So if I went and looked, we would say.
Oh, okay. How funny. Let's see here.
I think I have like 4 weeks left.
4 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. What do I have?
Family is starting today.
What's that?
Some of my family, not my immediate family, but
Oh, really?
yeah. My niece is, and with her mom and sister.
Oh, that's exciting.
I know. She came and hung out yesterday, and she just got back from Ecuador, and she's going to do it. So
That's got to make you feel good, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you're having that impact. Let's see. What was I looking at?
Oh, what day I'm on?
I'm on 44. Oh, 44. And I have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 weeks left.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
cool. Yeah. I was struggling with a sore throat, which made me go a little lighter on my workouts, which I had to do that really. But I got to give a testament to good old garlic. I take a garlic clove, actually 2, chop it up lengthwise, and chop it up this way so it's tiny little pieces, put it on a spoon, put it in my mouth, and chug it down.
Oh.
A couple times a day for 2 days, and I'm totally fine today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so just garlic.
Garlic. Well, I do other things too, but I think that garlic is really powerful. So
yeah, there's a detox shot in at the neighborhood that has some garlic and little pepper, and that's what I've done a couple times. That works pretty well. Christine Ames asks, "What happens after day 75?" So, Christine, basically, our head explodes and we become superhuman. No, I have no idea. There's another phase 1.
But you have 30 days before starting it.
Okay, so you have a 30-day window where you take a break. Do you take a break, or do you just continue on?
To me, it means you don't have to check off every single thing every single day. For me, I want this to be a lifestyle change. Not that I'm gonna for sure work out twice a day, but I do like it. You know, the weekend's harder. You really have to plan. As you know, on Mother's Day, you almost didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, I like the length of this challenge because it gives you enough time to actually make habits.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of the twice a day workout. I understand it. And I'd much prefer to do an hour and a half or 2 hour workout once a day. But I do know that if I did that, it wouldn't be what I'm doing now, which I like what I'm doing now. I love the hike and I love the gym and I love balancing the two out. If I was to do 1 2 hour workout, mostly it would just be gym, and it would probably be a combination of some cardio and some weightlifting and some core work for 2 hours, which is what I did in the past. But yeah, the 2 hour, the twice a day is a little tough to kind of schedule and balance.
yeah.
Um, but I guess if you go to bed earlier, you can wake up earlier and get your first. Like
Right.
when I first started, I was doing the 4 a.m. thing, and I was done with my first workout by 5:30 in the morning, and that was amazing.
Right.
But it's also my daughter's last 4 weeks in the house as a high school senior, and I don't want to go to bed at 7 o'clock at night. You know, I have this imaginary thought of her actually wanting to hang out with me for an hour or so. But anyways, all right, Mr. Max, waiting in the waiting room. I have real quick. I was going to go over this with you. Mr. Mac, do you have time? What time do you got to get out of here?
I got 7 more minutes, so man, whatever you need.
Okay. I need help picking a book. I have my next book that I'm supposed to start today. Okay, so hold on.
Hi, Mr. Mac.
Hey, how are you? I'm guessing which girl needs the sleep.
Are you?
Not just in my head though, because I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. You got amazing girls though.
Oh,
You got amazing kids, but I've only had your girls so far.
Okay, here's what I got. Ready? I went into my storage and I went and found some books that I've had for years that either I've read in the past and I want to revisit, or I've never read but I've always had them. This one doesn't really count. It's I just pulled it out anyways, but it's the story behind the scenes of Phil Ramone, 14-time Grammy Award-winning music producer. He produced Ray Charles and a bunch of other things. So I'm putting this on my shelf to read kind of in my own time. We'll go back to that one here in a minute. This one, ABCs of Peak Performers. Have you guys heard of this book?
No.
Okay. Okay. Gives you 26 easy to use lessons, achieving greater success in reaching career, health, and relationship goals. Become a peak performer, get extraordinary results, and change your life today. Okay. So that's this one, Peak Performers. This one is From Shakespeare to Existentialism. This one is really old print book. It's a philosophy book. Talks about basically studying the relationship between poetry, religion, philosophy, and the background and development of existentialism. Okay. Oh. This one's pretty deep. That might be a snoozer. I don't know if I want to do that one. This one is, I've kind of thumbed through it in the past. It's Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead. Okay. It's kind of a powerful hands-on how to market, like guerrilla marketing book, which is a good career self-development type. And then I've got a couple old reliables that I don't know that I've ever really read. This one, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's like
good one.
Probably top 5 books, bestseller of all time, right?
Absolutely, great book. Read that one.
7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Another Stephen Covey, right?
Highly effective people, yeah.
Okay. And then I found this one, which is interesting. But it's like, I've been called an optimist before, like eternally optimal. This is a Michael J. Fox, Always Looking Up, The Adventures of an Incurable Optimist. And this is a book that he wrote after he quit Spin City and lived 10 years as just Michael J. Fox, the guy with Parkinson's, right? And so that's a motivational book. So I have those books to choose from. Do you guys have a recommendation?
I would say one of the last three. The other ones
Yeah.
that might not be easy to read.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at How to Win Friends and Influence People, and there's a lot of words in this book. It's thick.
That's a great book, though. It's an easy read, and it's broken down in sections. There's another one that's like that one. It's called I want to say Think and Grow Rich or something like that. And that one's really good too. And it's not just about making money, but it's more just how to be successful.
And that's written by Napoleon Hill, I believe.
It is. Right?
Yeah. That's another one of the all-time greatest sellers, right?
Yeah.
And a bonus book that I'm kind of reading anyways, just kind of going through, of course, because of my man crush.
Tom Brady.
It's the TB12 method. The first part of this book talks about just his school of thought and his training methods, the 12 principles of the TB12 method, and so I'll dive more into that. But it's fun to just kind of use as a workbook and a guide. But anyways, okay, so let's see. I'm mixing them right now. I have my eyes closed. I'm mixing them. Okay.
And they both feel the same, so it's probably a totally non-biased judgment of the book.
1, 2, or 3?
Oh, you're asking us?
Yeah.
Definitely 1. Definitely 1.
Okay. Amanda?
Well, who do you pick if I say a different number?
Great question.
Then we'll do, you guys have to agree on a number.
I'm good with 1.
There you go.
Okay. I'll show you down on the screen. This is 1. Where am I? This is 1.
Nice. Got it.
That's 2. That's 3. All right. So it's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Perfect.
That's the one I'll start. Gosh, you had to pick the thickest one.
Easy read, Mike. Easy read.
Yeah, I've read that too. That's good.
Okay. Well, hopefully I get some nuggets out of it.
You will.
All right. Amanda, can I let you go?
Of course.
Okay. I appreciate you hanging out.
Yep.
We'll check in with you later. Bye. All right. Amanda Moore is on day 49 of the 75 Hard Challenge. Okay. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Got it.
Hey, did you see I just texted you a clip?
Yeah. We don't need sound, right?
Oh, shoot. No, you don't.
I was just say I can try to figure out how to download it. I don't know if I can though.
Isn't it just it's just a video clip, right?
Oh, you know what I did? Here's what I did yesterday. I got it. I got it. Look at how fancy I am. Watch this. Can I share it right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Just cut it off right after I pop on the screen and say what I say.
Okay. I'm gonna do
videotape of the game, first half, girls' senior night, Marin Grinley.
Okay, let me do this here. This is super. This is a really technical thing that I'm doing right now. I'm going to actually just put the microphone on the speaker so you can hear the sound. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Riveting.
Hold on.
Hey, Marin Grinley. Get in. Yes! Okay, keep watching. Keep watching.
Okay. That's 3. One more.
Okay. Note, Mike. Note, Mike.
Let me see you toss it. Okay. Go Sharks.
All right, Mike. So note that was the third goal.
Was that Eric Lewis?
It was. Hey, but
I'm
Mike,
here.
tell the story.
Can you hear me?
What's the story?
Okay, so I told her before the game she's wearing number 4. She's got to score me 4 goals that night. Okay, so that was her third one. Okay, ended up with 4 goals. She got me my 4 goals. She got 3 in the first half, 1 in the second half. And then Lindsay got a hat trick in the second half. Girls win 11. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, so the hat trick was, this is Mr. Lewis throwing the hat for the hat trick.
Right.
Got it. Okay, so the girls win.
Girls win 11-0. Guys win 1-0. And guys volleyball had their senior night as well, and they won 3-0 over Paso.
Okay. Wow. That's let's see here. I'm going to go to your newsletter. Where is your newsletter? 11-0-1-0 against Morro Bay. Unbelievable. All right, and boys volleyball. Look at that.
Yep. They were great.
Good stuff.
Yep. Hey, Mike, I know you gotta kick me out because you got Mr. Lewis, but wanted just to let you know that we got a lot of important sports coming up. We got league playoffs, singles playoffs at the end of the week for girls tennis. We've got CIF starts next week with tennis and soccer. So, anyways, just throwing that your way, and I will step aside for Mr. Lewis.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Mack. Good stuff. Thanks for the video. Yeah, anytime you want to send me that, we'll just do the microphone on the speaker like that, and we're good to go.
Okay, great.
All right. Have a good day, Mr. Mack.
Thanks.
See ya. Hey, Mr. Lewis, how are you?
I am good, Mike. I am good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks. Hey, thanks for sharing that link for the GoFundMe. I talked about it at the top of the show, and I've been tracking it since last night. It's interesting to watch just the outpouring of support from the community, right?
Yeah, and I was going to kind of hijack my normal history lesson to talk a little bit about fallen law enforcement in general, if that's okay.
Absolutely. But real quick before you do that, when we started the show, that link, the total amount raised was 118. I just refreshed it. It's at 126 right now. I mean, it's just in the past half hour, $7,000.
Yeah, this community, I mean, despite sometimes what's going around in the whole country, this community is really supportive of law enforcement, and it is in a bad situation. There is a little bit of it is heartwarming, and it is nice to take that out of it. And I was just going to kind of talk about the fact, and we are a very small county, and everybody knows everybody. My son is Paso PD, and he worked a few times with Luca. Didn't know him well, but like the SWAT teams in this county are composite SWAT teams. And so one of my son's best friends and partners has been a longtime member of the SWAT team, the county SWAT team, as was Officer Benedetti. And so, I mean, we're almost like one big department up here.
Yeah.
And so we're just it's been hitting the community really hard, and but they are coming together. I also have another student that graduated in 2015 that's on SLO PD, and I did touch bases with him last night, and people are just really having a hard time. My son's having a hard time.
Sure.
I did to put a history tied to it. I did kind of go back and look at the history of law enforcement officers being shot and killed in this county, because I do think historically that is something that is good to remember. And all my information, there is a webpage called I think it's called the Memorial. I have to look it up where I got my info. I'm trying to look to my computer, but it's Officer Down Memorial page. That's what it is. And then you can break it down by state, and you can break it down by city. Since the shooting in the Paso, in the Salinas River up in Paso about a year ago, we have actually had 6 police officers shot, counting the 2 shot 2 days ago, which is kind of crazy for our little county. and then obviously Officer Benedetti was killed. So I went through, and in 1904, we haven't had anything since like the 60s. In 1904, Henry Llewellyn was shot and killed he was AGPD, and that was in 1904. In 1919, David Morehouse was a Paso officer who was killed in the line of duty. There was a SLO sheriff's deputy killed named David Stahl in 1919. Another sheriff's deputy was killed in a car accident in 1929 named Charles Taylor. SLO PD, prior to Luca Benedetti, was John Bond in 1952.
Wow.
And that was gunfire. Vincent Munch in 1944 in a motorcycle accident. The most recent one, and I did remember this one, was the highway patrol officer named Brett Oswald, who was killed when he was hit by a drunk driver on, I think it was like on River Road near Spanish Camp. And I'm sure a lot of especially us that probably remember that one.
What year was that one?
An abandoned car. He stopped. He was like doing what you do for an abandoned car. He was actually behind the car, and this female driver came by, and I think she was on meth and alcohol and crashed in and killed him. She was convicted of second-degree murder. Yeah, and it's touched me personally too. I've had one of the reasons I left law enforcement personally, and for people who don't know, my dad was a police officer for 30 years. I was one for 5. My son is at about 5 years, one on LAPD, and now he's been about 3.5 years at Paso. But yeah, one of my best friends named Nelson Yamamoto was killed in 1992, in Walnut Park, which is one of the main reasons that I left law enforcement, because it went from, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, and I mountain bike and I surf and I used to skateboard and ride motorcycles, and the job can be a rush. You can definitely get that in law enforcement, and it went from a rush and fun to overnight it became real.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the officers here might experience something like that, because we have been very fortunate that nobody has been killed in this county for so long. One last thing before I in 1994, an officer that I worked with and knew pretty well, he was shot in the back of the head and survived. He was unfortunately, he was in a wheelchair and had to be medically retired. And while I was doing this research, I realized that he passed away just like 2 years ago. I had lost touch with him, and they still called it as related to the injuries he sustained 20-something years ago. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a very sombering time. And for people who don't know, I teach criminal justice class. I have multiple people from this community and law enforcement come to the class, and they are just been so great with my students and giving their time. And, and I think there's a lot of people that obviously you see the pouring out on Facebook and other social media, and we see the GoFundMe page growing. And I think the support is so great, and this community is so great. And it is just a tragedy, and it's so sad. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thanks for sharing kind of your history. And it's funny. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but my stepdad, who raised me, I grew up with him from the time I was 11 years old through high school. He was San Luis Obispo police officer, retired San Luis PD, and I was with him on Monday night.
Oh, no.
And him and all of his, other friends on the department, they were kind of group texting all night together. And yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy impactful time. One of the heads of the SWAT team worked with my dad. He's currently on the SWAT team, and so he was close to the situation on Monday night, and so he's got a kid who's one of my son's best friends, and so it was just a super kind of crazy emotional night for us as a family too. And coincidentally, so he comes from my stepdad comes from a family of law enforcement. I've got a couple retired LA sheriff sergeants, LA police, LA PD lieutenant retired. My grandfather was a LA sheriff. My great uncle was an LA sheriff detective who was part of the Charles Manson, murder stuff. I mean, so like just law enforcement runs deep in my family. And I actually graduated high school and went to Sac State to study criminal justice. And then figured out real quickly that I just didn't have the discipline or the really the smarts to be able to sit through that. But so I never actually got into law enforcement, but I was an Explorer Scout growing up for City of Paso. And that was a lot of fun to be a part of that and experience that. But you're right. I mean, you get into that line of work and it is an adrenaline rush. And then something like this makes it super real, right? We had a classmate, Paso Bearcat class of 94, Tony Zepatella, who was killed in the line of duty in Oceanside. He was basically executed at a traffic stop. And that was, years after we'd all left Paso, but yeah, I mean, it's real. And you mentioned that website. It's odmp.org. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Fallen officers. And what's interesting about going on to this, and I'll share the screen real quick. In the last 3 days, we've lost 4 officers in California. I'm sorry. Not in the nation. 2 in Texas. It looks like probably part of the same stop or whatever. Same call. We lost one yesterday out of Stockton. Police officer Jimmy Inn. And then here's Luca Benedetti on May 10th. Yeah, that's and then. Just in 2021 alone, the list is long. And, it's interesting. You don't think about this when you sign up to be a law enforcement officer, or maybe you do. But it's just, total deaths in the line of duty for 2021, 124 this year.
Yeah, and I grew up in it, in a family, and I knew it, but I was like a kid, I was looking at that list, and my dad had 4 good friends that were killed in the line of duty. 3 of them, interesting enough, were killed on search warrants, very similar to what happened to Officer Benedetti. 2 of them were part of my dad's, I grew up as a typical cop vacation where all we did is go to the Colorado River and water ski with a bunch of other cops, and 2 of our family groups were killed in the line of duty. Yeah, it brings back a lot. It brings back a lot of memories, and what I would say, and I actually have reached out to a couple of my ex-students who are cops here, and I said, the big thing is, in my day, and I think it was the reasons I left law enforcement, is we didn't talk about it. You were, 25 years ago, you're supposed to just be tough and hold it in, and now everything's so much better about that, and that's what I would say. You've got to talk to people, whether that's your friends or family. You go see a therapist. I know, my son was involved in the Salinas River shooting. 2 of the officers that were shot were right near him. And I can't say enough about how great Paso PD was after that, with making sure that he was okay and checking on him. And so, everybody, I mean, there was an outpouring of saying, "Oh, are you okay, Josh?" Because he actually ended up separated from the other Paso PD officers, and he was with AG officer and the Highway Patrol officer that were shot in the river. And they, thankfully they both recovered. So, but anyway, I have to start class, and we need to touch bases with your, because you said you had a bunch of your older people that were LA County. And I'm wondering, I was younger, but they almost sound like they're in the same age bracket as my dad. And it would be interesting to write some names down and run them by my dad and see if he knows any of them.
Oh, so. For sure. Yeah. The last name's Brady. So There's a ton of Brady's that are all LA County and LA City.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, take care, Mike. I will see you next week.
Good deal. All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Mr. Lewis. We'll see you. All right. Eric Lewis, who is the government econ history criminal justice teacher there at the high school, sharing some of his thoughts on Detective Benedetti's passing and just the importance of us supporting law enforcement and coming together, during this time to support family and stuff. So very cool. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to do a history lesson, but we kind of did. He went through and talked about some of the fallen officers, the history of the fallen officers here in San Luis Obispo County. And so I posted a link in the chat. It's the fallen officers kind of history. Again, so far this year, total line of duty deaths, we've had 124 in our nation. And it breaks down those deaths, right? So let's see here. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think it's important to kind of talk about. All right, so we have 64 COVID-19 related deaths in 2021, 23 deaths by gunfire, heart attacks, vehicular assault, struck by vehicle, stabbed, motorcycle crash, automobile crash, assault, 9/11 related illness. So here it breaks it down. In May, we've had 4 so far. Deaths by state. California, we've had 9. And if you just go back to the homepage, it shows you the 4 deaths here in the last 2 days. Out of Stockton, we had one yesterday, Jimmy Inn, and then Detective Luca Benedetti on May 10th, and then a couple in Texas yesterday, or on May 10th as well. Deputy Sheriff Stephen Jones and Deputy Sheriff Samuel Leonard. So that link to this website is here in the chat, and obviously you can donate, get recently fallen canines. Line of duty deaths in the last 5 years, 1,190. Last 10 years, 1989. Of all time, almost 25,000 line of duty deaths for the United States. So, and the statistics that he gave, he tracked it all the way back over to, in Paso and in our county. He was saying there was some that reported back all the way to 1919. And so this website obviously does a good job of kind of going through and listing everything. So, and then he says you can search for a fallen officer. You can do it by year. You can do it, obviously, just break it down by year, by place. So that's a interesting website if you want to take a look at that. All right,
yeah,
Mr.
and kind of taking it back here, just to branch off of your conversation with Eric Lewis. I actually am friends with his son, who works for Paso PD. I talked to him quite a bit, and so I haven't reached out to him recently, but maybe I'll do that this afternoon. But however, I did want to say that when I was in Sacramento a couple weeks ago, my father and I, who is actually retired, Department of Corrections, he retired, I believe, back in 2008, I think it was. And so he was, I know he's not going to be happy with me saying this, but he was assaulted in the line of duty as well. But he survived, obviously. So he could have very well been a part of that group as well, and been a statistic. But obviously we thank God that obviously his life was spared. So anyway, we went to the police officers memorial in Sacramento, and that was kind of surreal to see and experience. I had never been there before. I've heard all about it, but I've never obviously been up there. So that was cool to see a couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. So so it's kind of sad. Well, it is definitely sad that all these are happening in the National Police Week.
Sure.
Of 2021. Obviously, we didn't have the best year last year, and at any sort of the imagination, but obviously this does make it better. So
and just in the last 10 minutes, another $7,000 has been donated to Luca Benedetti's Family Relief Fund. So I just keep checking and refreshing.
Wow.
When we started this show this morning, we were at, I think it was at 118,000, and in an hour it's gone up to 132,000. So the outpouring of support continues to happen for this family in this tragic time. And so, again, all the link to the fund is in the chat, but I'll repost it here, so it's at the top of the list. There it is right there again. Yeah. Okay. Anything else going on in and around the county right now?
No, there's nothing going on. Everything is relatively quiet for the moment. I'm just kind of monitoring all scanners and just trying to hear if there is anything going on. And I haven't heard too much this morning. I've only been up for like the last probably 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It was a relatively quiet evening last night. Not too much was going on, like I said, beside the procession that occurred in Los Angeles, in San Luis Obispo, for Officer Benedetti, which like I said earlier, it was just a tremendous thing to see online. I have the link right here for those of you that want to view it. I will put it in the chat here in just 1 second. Bispo Police Department, and what it is basically, I believe it was in the intersection of Higuera Street. I think it was in San Luis Obispo last night. And it's just like all the police cars from Atascadero, El Paso, and even there's an ambulance that goes through there too. They all have their lights on in support, and other undercover vehicles they pass through as well with their lights on. And so I just put the link in the chat. So those of you that want to look at that and via that, you can. So it was just tremendous just to see the amount of support, not only from law enforcement but from all first responders.
For sure. Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll check back with you here at the end of the show.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thanks, Anthony.
All
right. Anthony Reed, Paso Robles Incidents and Actions, and I'm just scrolling through. For those of you, maybe you know him, maybe you don't know him, Roger Sharp, he's manager, owner of Big Bubba's and Crazy Asian Express, Tortilla Town in Paso, Tortilla Town in San Luis Obispo, and Pismo's Pizza and Clam Chowder House. He is just posted 8 minutes ago, free meals for all police officers all week, all locations. So if you're a police officer, Big Bubba's, Crazy Asian Express, all of these come in uniform to any of the locations this week, and your meal is on us. No questions asked. We're grateful for all that you do. So this is super cool. 2021 National Police Week. Respect, honor, remember. So Roger Sharp is doing his part to just contribute and help and just give thanks, I guess, to the the people that put themselves in harm's way each and every single day. And so in 2021, it's such a man, it's such a interesting debated topic of supporting law enforcement. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's an interesting time to be a police officer for sure, I would imagine. Probably now more than ever, with so much public scrutiny with how you conduct yourself. But at the end of the day, you are still going out and putting yourself in harm's way to protect people. And yes, there are bad apples. And yes, those bad apples tend to give law enforcement a bad name. But let's not forget the fact that there are people out there that have, taken an oath and are choosing to go out and do their part to protect us and serve every day. And so we thank you for that. Yeah. So it's an interesting world that we live in. And, the statistic is, I believe only 4% of all calls that police officers get, only 4% of them result in some type of situation where the police officer is either forced to use, in a position to use force, or some type of violent situation, right? So the only 4% of calls, but the big thing that people, you don't think about is you never know when that 4% is coming, right? And so as a result, I have to imagine that these police officers go into every situation with that on their mind, right? Thinking worst case scenario. And, this Detective Luca Benedetti situation was a little different. They were serving a search warrant, and that's kind of really all we know at this point. But, I would imagine that in that circumstance as well, you kind of have the same similar thought going into it, that this could, plan for worst case, hope for the best, plan for worst case. And obviously this was worst case. So, yeah, and that, it's just crazy. So, all right, let's shift gears. We'll come back to that and check on the progress of that GoFundMe. Stacy Jeffers says, "Yeah, that is awesome, Roger Sharp. It's so cool that he's doing that." So, Big Bubba's and Crazy Asian Express. He's not doing it obviously to gain favor or to gain notoriety. I'm sure he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart and wanting to just do his part, right? And that's the other thing. I will say this. We as a community, as a society, we are so good at judging, right? Prejudging people's motives. And so there's one person that would look at that and say, well, he's just doing it for publicity and promotion to get more business. His businesses are suffering, all this. So there's that one default school of thought. And then the other one is like, wow, this is cool that he's doing this, right? But we're so quick to judge in society versus just taking it at face value. So at face value, Mr. Roger Sharp, what you're doing is awesome. To just show your thanks and support for the law enforcement. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. Very cool. All right. So it's 8:15. I did get a message from Mr. Burnett, Andy Burnett, him and Mr. Asplund. They are heavily involved right now in a team building training where they have to dress alike and go on a 5K run together. No, I'm just kidding. I'm making all this up. They are busy. They've got other things going on this morning, so they really don't have any updates. So he just wanted to inform me that he would not be on the show. They would not be coming on the show this morning. So we've got a little over 45 minutes left to just kind of wrap and see what's what. Good morning. My name is Mike Brady. In case you're just joining us, this is the Morning Buzz. It's the Wednesday, May 12th edition of the Morning Buzz. I guess we can just open it up and talk. And I post the chat. Let's see here. Chat with me. I've done this before. Nobody's ever taken me up on it. But if you want to come on the show, whether it's just vocally or visually and vocally, the link to jump in with me and just kind of open it up to open. Let's call it. What do we want to call it? Open mic stuff. Yeah, you're welcome to hop on and give your thoughts and questions and whatnot. So the link is there in the chat if you want to hop on with us. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking about 75 Hard Challenge. Very cool that Amanda said that she's got a couple family members joining into the fun. They're starting today. That's exciting and motivating and I'm sure encouraging for her. And she obviously didn't do this to inspire others. But what she ended up doing was inspiring me right off the bat when she hopped in and started. And so that's exciting. That's got to be. And she said it. She's honored and encouraged and inspired that people would see her lead and hop on board with it. So that's super cool that she has inspired those other people to start their journey. And we're part of this Facebook accountability group with other people across the country, and it might be even global, people that are doing the 75 Hard Challenge. And it's a place for people to just ask questions and give feedback and encouragement. And it's a really cool accountability group. I find it to be, some people are a little harsh on each other, but I think that's like people just want that, right? People just default to going on defense and being cynical, right? Like that's the default that some people have, and it's that probably stems from their own personal issues that they have with whatever. But yeah, I mean, I like the posts where it's like, hey, I'm struggling. I had to start over. I failed yesterday. I'm so mad at myself. And then like 10, 15, 20 people will comment like, it's not the end of the world. You can do it. Hop back on. Don't beat yourself up. Life's tough. Pick up, pull up your boots, and just keep moving forward. Like those are the types of things that I love. The constant encouragement and positivity that people have for one another on that group is awesome. You always get those 2-3 people that are like, "Oh, you're weak. What's the matter with you?" Don't give yourself excuse. Like there's people that are mean, right? And I find people that are mean typically have like these crazy battles that they're dealing with themselves. And life's freaking hard enough. Life is super hard without people, bringing you down, right? So let's do what we can to pick each other up. If anybody's interested in finding out more about the 75 Hard Challenge or any other type of health thing, through this process, not only through 75 Hard, but through the last 5 years of my life, I feel like I've been on this internal journey to better myself physically, emotionally, mentally. And I'm so not even there yet. I'm just not there, but I want to get better. I'm always looking to figure out not necessarily the secret sauce, but figure out a way to just get consistently better and better and better and better. And I have a ton of shortcomings and a ton of issues that I'm challenged with that are my own personal things that I'm trying to process and work through. But yeah, we have one life, right? And so we put so much pressure on ourselves to be these people that we put so much pressure on ourselves to be somebody that we think we need to be, you know, and you know, we and that's okay to put pressure on yourself, but it's also, you know, it's important to understand that we're works in progress, right? We're all given different sets of circumstances that we have to just kind of navigate through, and you know, choosing to kind of love yourself and start there is probably the most important thing, and then everything else kind of works its way out, you know, downstream of that. And so that's kind of what I want to do, you know. And again, I got a long way to go, but I feel like I'm getting there. All right, so we checked in with Amanda and Mr. Mack. They gave me the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't know that I've ever read it. I've kind of thumbed through it in the past. So I will start. This is weird. I have a Band-Aid that was being used as a bookmarker in this book. I don't know how old this Band-Aid is, but this book is super old. This is probably one of the on the top 5 bestsellers of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I'll start this today. If you've read it, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'm sure people have read it. A lot of people have read this book before. So I'll start that book today. But the other book that I referenced that I've been going back to time and time again is my man crush, Tom Brady, the TB12 Method. He breaks down kind of his recipe for success, how to achieve a lifetime of sustained peak performance. And I know, in case you just tuned in, you think you've tuned into the Mike Brady Fitness Hour. Whatever, you know, I'll go with it. So Tom Brady, the 12 principles of the TB12 method, like what he lives by. I'll just give you them. Pliability, number 1, pliability is the missing leg of performance training and the most underutilized and least understood. Okay, so pliability, right? Number 2, holistic and integrative training. What does that mean? Nothing works in isolation. Everything we do at TB12 is interdependent, and they believe a holistic approach is better than a divided one. Okay, so the whole body, right? All of it. Balance and moderation in all things. That's super important. We subscribe to the precept of balance and moderation in all things. Too much of a good thing isn't a good thing. Interesting. Too many bad things are just plain bad. And we've all learned that, right? I mean, I want to sit and eat ice cream every day. That's too much of a bad thing. It's good, but it's bad. All right, number 4, conditioning for endurance and vitality. Conditioning is about having energy, endurance, and vitality to perform the activities you love in a healthy, pain-free way. All right, so condition for endurance and vitality. Okay. Number 5, no load strength training. Okay, no load, so not heavy weights. Muscles aren't for strength or for show. Their function is to protect your bone structure and to support the acts of daily living. That's interesting. You should train to develop the optimal strength to do your job your body needs you to do, while limiting the load, especially the overload you put on your joints. Make your muscles work every day and load them appropriately for what you're asking them to do. Okay, so this kind of goes against the school of thought of heavy weight training and being in the gym trying to max out your squats and your bench press and all that. So they're saying no load strength training. Okay, number 6, promote anti-inflammatory responses to the body. Anything that reduces the inflammation in our bodies, including hydration and nutrition, and maximizes pliability and accelerates recovery. Try to avoid self-inflammation, whether it's in your mind, body, or spirit. Okay. So stress causes inflammation. I've heard different foods cause inflammation. Alcohol causes inflammation. There's a number of different things that cause inflammation. They're saying let's promote anti-inflammatory responses in the body. Okay. Promote oxygen-rich blood flow. That's number 7. The blood that flows to your brain is the same blood that flows to your feet and everywhere in between. The more ways you can foster the circulation, oxygen-rich blood, and 100% muscle pump function, full contraction and relaxation in every part of your body, the better. Oxygen-rich blood rejuvenates and regenerates, leading to optimal health. Okay, so oxygen-rich blood. I don't know ways to enrich your oxygen in your blood, but maybe I'll dive more into that here on my own time. Proper hydration is number 8. Super important. Drinking water every day, preferably with electrolytes, is essential for muscle pliability and optimal health. Tons of water. Dehydration is a big factor with a lot of people that are older in age. You'll notice a lot of people, old people, don't drink a lot of water, right? And they, as a result, become more and more dehydrated, which leads to sickness and all kinds of issues. So staying hydrated. Healthy nutrition is number 9. No training or exercise program is effective unless complemented by proper nutrition. You can't train on or recover well when you deprive your body and muscles of the right nutrition. What you put in your body is often what you will get out of your body. So there you go. I fully believe in that. Do I subscribe to that every day? Unfortunately, no. But I should. Supplementation, healthy nutrition is amplified by the right vitamins, nutrients, and minerals based on your current diet, age, and activity levels. Okay, so Tom Brady's, one of his 12 principles of the TB12 is prop supplements, supplementation. Brain exercises is number 11. This one's interesting. Neuroplasticity is all about generating and regenerating neural connections, which happens only when we train our brains the same way we do our muscles. So exercise your brain. Some people choose to exercise their brain by playing an instrument. Some people choose to exercise their doing math problems or reading or doing research or I don't know. What are other brain exercises? Lots of them out there. All right, and number 12, brain rest, recentering, and recovery. Okay, the body and the brain need recentering, rest, and recovery via sleep, meditation, or other balancing techniques that encourage the right mindset, and recovery innovations such as tech-enabled sleepwear. All right, so those are the 12 principles of TB12. Tom Brady's method, right, and the principles that he lives by in training, and he wrote this book, or he contributed to this book and this method with Alex Guerrero, who is his partner with TB12. But the whole point and basis of this TB12 method isn't to make you, it's not to make you become an ultra athlete. It's really to help you perform your best at whatever you do, right? If you are a lawyer, but you enjoy cycling on the weekend, right? Or if you're a doctor and you like to mountain climb, or if you're a doctor and you don't like to mountain climb, if you just want to perform your best at what you're doing. Doctors are sitting and they're standing and they're moving around all day, and they live a fast-paced lifestyle, and they're high-stress situations, and they go on limited or no sleep. This TB12 method is designed to help those doctors perform at their peak, right? And so I've had this book for a couple of years, and I've used it kind of as a guide from here and again to just kind of understand and a point of reference, if you will. I haven't read it cover to cover, but it's always good to kind of go back to when I'm doing these things, like, okay, I'm listening to these podcasts on sleep and the importance of sleep. I'll come back to this book and go, what does Tom Brady's TB12 method say about sleep? And here's the thing. Tom Brady's born on 8/3/77. I'm born on 8677. My wife was born on 8377. He's my age. And so I'm super fascinated with a guy that's my age that is at the top of his game right now, athletically, playing in a league with people that are ranging from 20 years old to 40 years old, with 80% of the guys in that league are between 20 and 29, right? Like, and he is ultimately still dominating. And so I'm of course, yes, he's trying to sell books. Yes, he's trying to sell merch. Yes, he's trying to sell his supplements. Yes, I get all that. But the proof is in the pudding. He is still performing at a super high level. And there's something to be said for that. And how does he do that? He's telling us right here what he believes. And so, is it something that I need to copy this blueprint, word for word, step by step? I don't know. Probably not. I've got to kind of figure out what works for me in my life. And so that's what I'll do, but I will reference it and come back to it because I do believe it's a viable source. It's a viable source, right? The proof is there on TV for me to watch in the form of his football games every Sunday during football season. So, and love him or hate him, the guy's won 7 Super Bowls. So, and he's 43 years old. You remember when Brett Favre, I believe, retired at 41? Brett Favre looked like a super old man in his last couple seasons. He was beat up. He couldn't walk. His injuries, gray hair, just beat up. And granted, he was a different type of player. He ran hard. He took hits. But at 41 now, he looks like he's 55 years old, 60 years old. I don't know how old is Brett Favre. Let me Google that. Brett Favre. Brett Favre is 51 years old. So, yeah, he's 51. But he, Brett Favre at 41 playing in the league was a lot different than Tom Brady at 41 playing in the league, right? And Tom Brady, when you see him out there still today, he looks like he's 27 years old. And I'm not talking about the face. I'm talking about just his ability to perform at that high level. He doesn't look like he's an old man in a kid's game. He's amazing. What can I say? All right, the Tom Brady Crush Hour, otherwise known as the Morning Buzz, the Mike Brady Show, is officially. I'm going to turn the page on the Tom Brady Crush, but yeah, I'm just fascinated, super fascinated with it. All right, it's 8:33. In case you're just joining us, we've spent the morning talking sports. We've spent the morning talking TB12 and the 75 Hard Challenge. Today is day 44 for me on the 75 Hard Challenge. It's been a mindset shift for me. It's been a physical and mental challenge that so far I've got a little more than 4 weeks, almost 5 weeks left in this 30. No, I've got 31 days left in this challenge. Exactly a month left. And so I'm pushing through it. I feel great. It's obviously come with sacrifices in time spent, doing other things. I took on this challenge at a time in my life where I absolutely needed it because of the just where I was physically and mentally. And I'll share something with you guys that you may or may not know, but in late November, I started experiencing some health issues, some bloody noses, and actually my bloody noses came every day for about 60 days. They wouldn't stop. Every single day, my right nostril if I would blow my nose would start to bleed. And I had a really bad headache on my right side for a long time. And I know you guys are probably like, dude, go to a freaking doctor. I haven't been to the doctor in 20 plus years. I went to the doctor and I called my buddy who's a doctor, and I go to church with him. I said, "Hey, I'm supposed to jump on a plane to take my daughter to Nashville to go look at her school. I just want to make sure with these bloody noses and this headache going on that my head's not going to explode and I'm not going to be wheeled out in a body bag." And took my blood pressure. My blood pressure was 180 over 140, which is super high, basically stroking at any minute, right? Immediately did some things to change my diet. I cut all alcohol out. I changed my diet. I changed my exercise routine. I was 200 pounds at the time. I had my business was failing, super stressful. Money was tight. All of these things happening in my life that contributed to all of this happening. And so I made a decision to just figure out how to change things and change my situation. And so what I did was I started focusing on things that brought me comfort and therapeutic, right? Which were turning on this microphone and speaking to you guys, and doing podcasts and playing music again and playing at church. And so I immediately deleted my work email from my phone. I decided to shut my business down completely. And then Amanda posted this challenge, and I thought to myself, okay, this is it. I need it. So it was a perfect time for that challenge to come into my life. And granted, now I know, this is not the answer to all of my problems, right? All of my life circumstances that are an issue right now that need to be changed. But it is a start for me to mentally and physically be in a place where I can deal with the other things. And so that has been my goal, to just reset myself physically and mentally, and get myself into a spot where I can be in the right shape to tackle other issues in my life. And so I'm 44 days into this, and I feel like I'm just starting to be in a spot where I can now move forward. And so without going too much into detail, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been a constant source of encouragement and positivity in my life. Thank you to you guys who have been watching this show. I said since day one, I have no idea how long this show is going to put me on the list to read your book if no one else wants it. Got it. Okay. Somebody texted me about reading the book that I recommended. So I said from day one, I have no idea how long this podcast or this live stream show is going to go. I did it solely to just put myself in a position every single day to start the day on a positive note, sharing some time with you guys, providing some information that you guys might find value in, promoting positivity. This is more of selfishly for me to just start my day in the right frame of mind, to come to just have a win, right? After a year and a half, 2 years of just getting just completely beat up and my ass kicked, for a lack of a better terms, in the world of my business. I wanted to set myself up and put myself in a position to just get a win every single day. And so for me to start the show with you guys in the morning, to have people interacting with me, to have people finding value in the information that I'm sharing with you, that's a freaking win, right? And so it's done wonders for me, emotionally, internally, mentally, for me to start my day off with you guys. And so I appreciate all of you guys hanging out with me. I have no idea how long this show is going to go. No idea. Life is interesting, right? There's so many things up in the air with my life right now. I'd love to be able to do the show every morning for the next 20 years, to be honest with you. I find so much joy and um, comfort, and it just warms my soul and my heart to be able to do this. And so, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds, but nonetheless, day 44 is way better than day 1. I can tell you that. And um, you know, if I'm able, and I don't want to give myself an out. Um, I've been told that I'm a optimist to a fault in the past, and so now here's my attempt at being a realist. I don't want to give myself an out to fail this challenge, but uh, the reality is I might fail this challenge. I don't want to, and I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that I don't fail this challenge. But there's a part of me that says, I could fail this, right? I hope I don't. I really hope I don't, because what I've seen in myself is something that I'm starting to like. So, Melinda, your show is a positive start to the day. Thanks so much. I hope it is positive. I have a group of best friends that were in my wedding, that I met when I was 19 years old. I worked in radio with these guys in LA. These are some of my best friends. They're older than me. I consider them my brothers. They're the closest things to brothers that I have. Andy, Jeff, and Mike, you guys down in LA, you literally have been my sounding board and my source of encouragement and inspiration. You guys are all still in radio in some capacity. You guys, the reason why I bring these guys up is because we have a group chat and we do our Zoom calls together. And Andy, Andy, who I worked with for years as his producer of his morning show, just came down with stage 2 lymphoma. And, so he's battling that right now, and we're working through that. And he's got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And so that's been a challenge in itself, emotionally and mentally, for him and his family, and for us as friends to figure out how we can best support him. So we've been in constant contact with each other over the last few months, and they've been well aware of what I've been doing, and I always solicit feedback from them. And they ask the question like, "Hey, Mike, are you going to talk about controversial things like vaccinations and COVID and the racism and all of the things that we get, controversial topics in the community? Like, are you going to go down that road?" And I'll be honest with you, I could do that, and the number of people watching would probably go through the freaking roof, right? And because people love piggybacking off of each other and sharing in misery. People love listening to the news and reaffirming their negativity, right? They just love that. And I don't know why we as a society like that so much, and like putting ourselves in that. But seriously, I could sit there and take a stance and say, vaccines are blah blah blah, or if you're not vaccinated, you're what's the matter with you? I could go down that road. People love drama, right? I don't want to do that with this show. That's not what this show's ever been about. And I have to stay true to that. Now, there's also the other side of it. Well, Mike likes to stay neutral. He doesn't like to have an opinion. What do you stand for, Mike? All of that. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what I stand for. This is super hippie of me. I stand for love, and I stand for positivity, and I stand for community, and God, there's so much bad in this world. Can't we just have 2 hours a day where it's just like, let's take a deep breath. Let's reset with each other. Let's encourage each other. Let's enjoy each other. Let's share some positivity and tips and motivation, and go from there and reset. So I don't know. That's where my mind's at right now. So, all right. So somebody has claimed the book that I finished online. Stacy, thanks for praying for Andy. Andy Chanley is the name of the guy who's my buddy fighting lymphoma. If you prayer warriors are out there, he feels all of the good vibes and prayers, and so we are fighting with him. And Andy has an abnormally large head, and so like super large. And it's weird. It's not one of those big, like all the way around heads. It's like a long, skinny head where people were gifting him hats for for his chemotherapy, for his hair loss, and hats were not fitting him. And so he found a website that makes extra large hats for extra large head people. So we've been teasing him about that, but it's been funny to joke around with him. But when he started finally losing his hair in this third round of chemo, he promised to let his kids shave his head and dye his hair before they shaved. And so what they did was they shaved a mohawk into his head, dyed it purple and pink. Let me see if I can see if I can Instagram. I'm gonna see if he has a picture of his mohawk on his Instagram. He'll probably kill me for sharing this because he's not really a super public guy, which is ironic because he's on the freaking radio in LA. But he likes to kind of keep to himself. So Andy is the music director, and he's a weekday show host on 88.5, which if you're familiar with LA radio, 88.5 is Cal State Northridge's radio, but it is one of the leading radio stations in the country for alternative music. And so, examples of guests that he'll have on his show. He met with Ringo Starr in February and interviewed him for, he's just, and Andy's been in LA radio for years. He worked with Mark from Mark and Brian on a morning show on 100.3 The Sound, which was a big LA radio station for a number of years. He worked with me over at Channel 103.1, which, if you're familiar with LA, again, LA radio, Channel 103.1 at the turn of the century was like the go-to adult alternative station where we had people like Train that broke from 103.1. We used to have Sheryl Crow and Sting in the studio, and all of those types of people. So Channel 103.1, him and I worked together there for a couple of years. I was his producer. I was a terrible, terrible producer for him. I was his morning show producer. I was in charge of basically everything that didn't have to do with talking on the radio. And so I was his right arm. And half the time I would show up, the other half I would sleep in. But he always supported me and never fired me. So I can always thank him for that. Stacy Jeffers, it's okay for some things to be positive, happy about community and support. Agree with Melinda. Thank you. I appreciate you starting the day with me as well. So, yeah, it's, maybe it's just a nice change. Maybe it's what we need. Be the change you want to be. I think I said that in show 1. I am trying to be the change that I want to be. This book, I just finished it. It's called Unfook Yourself. Get out of your head and into your life. Somebody has claimed this book, so I will ship it off to you, and you can read it on your own time. All right, it's 8:49. We are just winding down this edition of the Morning Buzz. We got 10 minutes to go. A little bit of a show this morning focused on our fallen officer, Luca Benedetti, who is, let's see here, currently this fundraiser We checked it, I don't know, a little over 20 minutes ago. He was at this fundraiser was at $132,000 raised. I'm going to refresh it here and see where we're at. So in 20 minutes, they've raised $10,000. It just keeps going and going and going. Again, the link is in the chat. If you scroll up in the chat, you can see it. But super cool to continuously see this show of support in our community for a family who's in need right now. Very cool. All right. Let's see. 8:50. What's happening? You just hanging out?
Yeah, I'm just hanging out.
All right. All right. Hey, let me ask you a question. When you need to kind of change your mindset and motivate yourself, what do you do? Do you go for a walk? Do you eat something that's like a comfort food? Do you listen to a certain song? What do you do? Do you pray? Tell me what you do.
Yeah, I pray, I go to scripture, and I listen to gospel music.
Okay. Yeah, that's we always think of prayer as a last resort, right? And we don't want to get super biblical here on the show because I believe that anybody can believe what they want to believe, and I'm not the person that's supposed to force my beliefs on you by any stretch. But for me, being a professed Christian, it's funny that I always go to prayer as a last resort, right?
Well, I mean, it's like for me, you asked me yesterday, like how my day was going and all that stuff in the beginning, and I remember saying that that I wake up every morning and then I go into my prayer and scripture, and so that's what I've been doing over the last, I would say, the last couple months. I've kind of gotten into you talk about habits and all that stuff earlier. I've kind of gotten into that habit of doing that, and I got to tell you that doing that every day and every morning before the show and praying for the show and my day and everything else. One of my prayers daily is to not necessarily impress anybody who I come in contact with, but I just ask the Lord, obviously, that their day is blessed in some sort of a way. And so that's kind of a daily prayer for myself. But I called it a ritual yesterday. If you want to call it that, call it whatever you want. But that's kind of what I do every morning is just I go into a prayer and scripture. I have this daily devotion that I read every morning. And so it's just different scriptures. And it's a thought like for that particular day. And so that's what I do.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'd like to incorporate something like a daily devotion type deal into this show. I wanted this show to come across as 2 parts Jimmy Fallon, 2 parts Joe Rogan, 2 parts Mike Rowe, right? And Mike Rowe does a really good job of providing like cultural commentary in the form of a long form essay that he writes and reads to his audience. And it's typically just a feel good story with his take on it. And I'd like to be able to incorporate something like that into the show where I spend, 5 minutes at the start of the show, giving you kind of my daily take dose of inspiration and motivation. And I don't know, how I can do that yet. I'm still kind of brainstorming what that looks like, but that's kind of one of the goals, is doing some type of, I guess, devotion, for lack of a better term. That's a Christian term, right? But really, anybody can do I guess we can call it just like a daily inspiration or daily food for thought that gets us to kind of think and explore our own thoughts. And so that's kind of what the goal of a devotion is, to kind of recenter yourself and your thoughts. So yeah, I'd like to be able to do something like that. Do you follow Mike Rowe on Facebook?
I don't.
Oh, you should. You should. He's got an interesting take on things. And look, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that hate him, that don't like what he has to say. Whatever. Same with Joe Rogan. Same with Jimmy Fallon. Just look for the
Everybody
good.
has haters. Everybody has haters.
Yeah. Why do we spend so much time looking for the bad in people versus looking for the good in people? Yeah, it's a nice thing that Mike Rowe does, I think, anyways. So, all right, it's 8:55. Did anything happen in the last hour in the community that we need to know about?
Nope. Nothing's really happened. I've checked it. HP really going on. It's supposed to be transitioning over to weather today. It's supposed to be in the mid 90s. So we're kind of hitting that spring and summertime.
Mid 90s? Where do you see that? I only see 79.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I could have sworn that I saw 90 on there. Well, it's supposed to be 83 by 4.
Okay, Paso saying 84. Templeton's saying 79.
Yeah, well, I'm in Paso, so I'm just going off what it says in Paso.
Got it.
Generally, when it hits mid 80s, it gets up to 90. So I just call it mid 90 whenever I see like it's going to be like mid 80, like 80, 85 or whatever. I say, oh yeah, it's going to be 90 today. So I mean, it's like whether it does or not, it doesn't really matter. It's hot either way. Like,
right. Well, I'm a guy that could live in the mid to late 90s into the hundreds. I love the heat.
Yeah, I love it.
I love the way it makes me feel.
Yeah.
I love sweating. Yeah, it's I'm not a fan of cold weather at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like Dave Hovde, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive that when he like talks about the weather in Paso, I'm almost positive that he's talking about the weather like out at the airport.
Right.
And obviously the weather out at the airport is different from like the weather downtown Paso, like where I live. I'm pretty sure there's some sort of difference. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm pretty sure that it's way hotter out at the airport than it is in town, or vice versa.
Yeah, Paso's got a ton of little microclimates, right? The whole North County. I know in our property, that the house next door, the property next door, up top doesn't freeze. And then the bottom of his hill, which is only, 100 feet down, the whole bottom of his hill gets frost. And it's just this little valley that runs through that, tons of little microclimates like that.
Yeah, and I've noticed, like, if you like drive around, like in like probably, I would say between probably when it hits daylight in the morning around 5:30, between probably 5 and 8. If you like, there's a certain point in Paso, like coming off the 101, like coming like into Paso, there's like this little blanket of fog over the riverbed.
Yep.
That you can see. So I would imagine that that under that layer of fog that's on the riverbed, it's cold underneath that. And then as you, obviously we all know that heat rises, and so like if you come out of the riverbed, it gets warm. So it's just the climate. It's weird. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right. On that, let's go ahead and end the show. It's 9 o'clock again. If you want to contribute to Officer Luke or Detective Luca Benedetti's Family Relief Fund, the link is in the chat. I'll go ahead and repost that one last time, so it's in the top of the chat. There it is. You can click on that to go ahead and contribute to that. And other than that, that's the show for today. I just appreciate you guys hanging out. Sorry, I started my music. All right, 9:00. Go out and love somebody today. See you guys.
So yeah, I just have physical therapy for the rest of the day, and